Good morning. The hour of convening has arrived, and the Senate will now come to order. At this time, I'd like to ask that all unauthorized persons, easy for me to say, exit the chamber. It is such an honor for me to be able to recognize the distinguished, somewhat good-looking senator from the 53rd District.
Mr. President, I'm about to faint and pass out, but thank you so much for the compliment. Thank you for your leadership, and the men and women of this Senate chamber is still conducting business outside the chamber, but we know we're here for the people of Georgia. Moment in time, moment in history. Today is Speaker Newt Gingrich's birthday. He was, I think he'll be 49 or something today. And the senator from the 7th told me that this is Eat Your Vegetable Day. He's a vegetarian, I think. And the journal's been read and found to be correct.
Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. Would ask that all senators who have bills or resolutions to introduce, please bring them to the Secretary's desk at this time. Mr. Secretary, first reading of Senate bills and resolutions, please.
Senate Bill 514 by Senators Williams of the 39th, Jordan of the 6th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 21 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to state tort claims. Senate Bill 515 by Senator Williams of the 39th, Jordan of the 6th, Jones of the 22nd, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 3 of Title 16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to justification and excuse so as to repeal the Senate Bill 516 by Senators Jordan of the 6th and Williams of the 39th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 7 of Title 17 in the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to indictment so as to remove the preferential privileges. Senate Bill 517 by Senator Lucas of the 26th, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Jeffersonville.
Slow go.
Senate Bill 518 by Senator Strickland of the 17th and Jones of the 10th, a bill to be entitled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the Magistrate Court of Henry County.
State and local government.
Senate Resolution 968 by Senators Williams of the 39th, Jordan of the 6th, and others, a resolution proposing amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to authorize and provide that the General Assembly may provide for the allocation of certain funds to the creation of a continuing fund for. Senate Resolution 969 by Senators Williams of the 39th, Jordan of the 6th, and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to provide that the General Assembly may provide by general law for the redistricting of the state congressional and state House and Senate districts. Senate Resolution 970 by Senators Williams of the 39th, Jordan of the 6th, and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution so as to provide that persons convicted of felonies shall lose their right to vote only if they are sentenced. Senate Resolution 981 by Senator Butler of the 55th, a resolution creating a Senate Study Committee on Surgical Smoke Evacuation Systems. Senate Resolution 983 by Senator James of the 35th, a resolution honoring and recognizing Nagorno-Karabakh Republic and for other purposes.
Rules.
Senate Resolution 985 by Senator James of the 35th, Rhett of the 33rd, and others, a resolution honoring the life of Senator Leroy Johnson and dedicating a road in his memory.
Transportation.
Senate Resolution 968 by Senators Williams of the 39th, Jordan of the 6th, and others, a resolution proposing an amendment to the Constitution of the State of Georgia so as to provide that the General Assembly may provide for the allocation of certain funds to in creation of a fund for Did I skip something?
968. I think you flipped to the wrong.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
We've already assigned Senate Resolution 968 to ethics.
Senate Resolution 981 by
No.
That's complete. That completes the order on Senate first readers, Mr. President.
First reading of House bills and resolutions, please.
House Bill 1115 by Representative Rogers of the 10th, a bill to be entitled an act to provide for a new charter for the city of Clarksville.
State and local government.
House Bill 117 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act relating to the Board of Education of Stewart County.
State and local government.
House Bill 1118 by Representatives Laricchia and Perkel of the 155th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing a new charter for the city of Douglas.
State and local government.
House Bill 1119 by Representatives Gullett of the 19th, Gravely of the 67th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to create a state court of Paulding County.
State and local government.
House Bill 1132 by Representative Mathis of the 144th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Cochrane.
State and local government.
House Bill 1137 by Representative Jackson of the 128th, a bill to be entitled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee for the State Court of Washington
State and
County.
local government.
House Bill 1138 by Representative Corbett of the 174th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to incorporate the town of Argyle.
State and local government.
House Bill 1142 by Representatives Jones of the 25th, Tanner of the 9th, and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide for the creation of one or more community improvement districts in Forsyth County.
State and local government.
House Bill 1145 by Representative Barton of the 5th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide a new charter for the city of Calhoun, Georgia.
State and local government.
House Bill 1147 by Representative Pullen of the 131st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to provide for the merger and consolidation of the existing Upson County school system.
State and
the
local
existing
government.
House Bill 1154 by Representative Moore of the 1st, a bill to be entitled an act to authorize the probate court of Dade County to charge a technology fee for each fine assessed
State and
for
local
a
government.
criminal. House Bill 1156 by Representative Carson of the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act consolidating the offices of tax collector and tax receiver into the office of tax commissioner of Cobb
State and
County.
local government.
House Bill 1157 by Representatives England of the 116th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to create the State Court of Barrow County.
State and local government.
House Bill 1160 by Representative Morris of the 156th, a bill to be entitled an act to provide a new charter for the city of Uvalde.
State and local government.
House Bill 1162 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, a bill to be entitled an act to authorize the governing authority of the city of Blue Ridge to levy an excise tax pursuant to subsection B of Code Section 48-13-51 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated to provide for procedures, conditions, limitations,
State and
provide for
local government.
related matters. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the reports of all of our standing committees?
Mr. President, the Committee on Appropriations has had under consideration the following legislation, and it's instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 793 do pass by committee substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Tillery of the 19th District Chair. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Natural Resources and the Environment has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 966 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Harper of the 7th District Chair. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Regulated Industries and Utilities has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. House Bill 932 do pass. House Bill 987 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Calzert of the 46th District Chair. Mr. President, that completes the order.
Secretary will now read bills and resolutions for the second time.
House Bill 216 by Representative Anulowitz of the 42nd, special license plates, Georgia Tennis Foundation establish. House Bill 823 by Representative Gaines of the 117th, crimes and offenses, lifetime disqualification from operating a commercial motor vehicle by persons convicted of trafficking other persons for labor or sexual servitude, provide. That completes the order, Mr. President.
It's now time for our morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? And I'm going to pause for a minute and allow anybody who needs to make a motion to excuse. Chair recognizes the senator from the 32nd.
Mr. President, I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 9th.
Without objection, the senator from the 9th is excused. Any other motions to excuse? Just looking around the room here, making sure I'm not catching anybody. All right. Chair recognizes the majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that we suspend this morning's roll call.
Is there objection to the majority leader has asked for unanimous consent to dispense with the morning roll call? Is there objection? Chair hears none, and the morning roll call is dispensed with. It is now time for our morning devotion, and I'd ask that all senators take your seats and cease all audible conversations. I would ask that all doorkeepers secure the chamber at this time. It's my honor to recognize a senator from the 54th to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and to introduce our chaplain of the day.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Georgia flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and the principle for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Friends, it's an honor to be here today and present to you our chaplain of the day, and especially somebody that's dear to me and my family. And recent years, Pastor Brian Branham has ministered not only to me, but also to my wife, to my daughter and my son-in-law, and that just has become an integral part of our family, and just has been just a great source for outreach for me. He's been a pastoring for 25 years. He and his wife Shannon have two daughters, Morgan and Kylie. He's currently the lead pastor at Liberty Baptist Church, which is in Chatsworth, Murray County, Georgia, and they also have two other campuses in Spring Place and Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. So it's also in not only in the 54th district, but also in the 53rd district. He's got campus. He's a high school Bible teacher at football team chaplain at Christian Heritage School in Dalton. And of course, it's got a website, brianbranham.com, where he shares content to help people think biblically on a daily basis. And it's my honor to introduce you to Pastor Brian Branham.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and speak to you today. As a pastor, you shepherd people, and people give you lots of great stories. I was on the telephone with a lady in our congregation a couple of weeks ago, and we've been trying to navigate this COVID crisis just like everyone else has, and she was returning from a trip out west and had been on an airplane, and she was telling me, I'm coughing and I'm tired and I can't breathe and I don't know if it's just jet lag. And so I said, that is not jet lag. I said, you need to have a COVID test. And the other end of the phone got very silent for a moment. And then she began to tell me about an article she read on social media, which we all know is a great source of truth. And she told me that the COVID test was a way for the government to put a chip in your brain. And so I had to take a moment to explain to her that that is not what was happening, and it would probably be in her best interest to go and have that COVID test. So after today, I get to tell her I've met the people that are trying to put a chip in her brain. And so it's good to meet you. You know, people are gullible. People are easily misguided. We're at a time in our national history right now in which there's a lot of hostility and people are angry. People can hurt, and hurt people hurt people. And sometimes, especially right now in this time in history, I would say this is a tough time to be a person. It's a tough time to be a leader. My congregation's made up of about 800 people. I am in awe as I stand in this room that these are the collective voices that represent 10 million people. I know the things that I hear on a daily basis. I can't imagine the things that you hear from your districts on a daily basis from people. And I know that you are senators, but I also understand that you are a person. And sometimes as a person, you take things to heart. And it's hard when things get into our hearts. I know that this gentleman here has been here since 1993. I know that she has a great commercial about her being one tough mother. I know that she is an attorney. He is a farmer. He is a dentist. senators, but all people. And I don't know if you realize this, but dentists have a very high rate of depression. It has one of the highest suicide rates of any profession in the world. It's tough to be the guy nobody wants to go to their appointment. You know, it's her being one tough mother. That's also a mother sitting right there. And you know, it's hard when you go through a campaign for your children to watch what you go through, to watch what's said about you. That's tough for a mother. But you're people. And so I just want to come this morning and just say a word of encouragement to you, and that is, I know that you are criticized, that you are scrutinized, but I want to tell you, you are loved. I love you. I care about you. I pray for you. Our church does as well. And there's a great verse in the Bible that helps us when our hearts are full of trouble and we wonder, does anybody care? And I understand this is going to be, as it was described to me, an interesting day. So I think this is a great verse for you to keep in mind as you begin the day. It says, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6 says, "Humble yourselves, therefore, under the mighty hand of God, so that at the proper time he may exalt you, casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you." Thank you for what you do. But you're a person, and you're cared for, and you're loved, and you're prayed for. Let's pray this morning. Heavenly Father God, I come this morning and pray for these people as we are at a difficult time in our history. It's tough to be a person. Lord, it's tough to be a leader right now. And so, God, all the things, the words that get down into our heart that discourage our souls, Lord, help us to realize that we have to stick to the vision. Lord, it's not we who exalt ourselves at the proper time. It's you who exalt us at the proper time. And it just feels good, God, to know we don't have to fix it all and make it all happen quickly. Lord, we just wait on you. And so, God, this morning I pray for these senators. I pray for all the representatives across the way, Lord. I pray for our governor, Lord. I pray for the government of our state and all the different people that work it and represent it, Lord, that you would convey to them your care for them, your love for them, and Lord, that we would cast our cares upon you as we start this day. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you.
Are there any unanimous consents? Any unanimous consents? The chair sees none. Does any senator wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Any senators wish to rise on a point of personal privilege? Chair. Chair recognizes the senator from the 12th for a point of personal privilege.
Good morning. Thank you so very much, Mr. Leader. I want to also personally thank the governor, Governor Kemp, and Mark Hamilton for coming to the many cries from Southwest Georgia during COVID-19 as an appreciation to my fellow senators. Pretoria Fields, which is one of the breweries in Albany, Georgia, has delivered to every member, or will deliver to your offices, a bottle of hand sanitizer. We've stopped brewing beer and we start doing hand sanitizer. So, and an appreciation to you guys, thank you so much. But we received during the hot spots that we encountered in Southwest Georgia, and we were the epicenter seemingly for the state of Georgia, so much concern and so much help. There was never a time that we called, and myself personally, Mark Hamilton's office did not have Mark to answer personally as per the governor's instructions. So we just want to personally thank you for all that you've done for us during this pandemic, and also from the Lieutenant Governor's office. Thank you all so very much, and this is for you guys. It will be delivered to your offices. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th for a point of personal privilege. We're waiting for the senator from the 34th to get her notes. Chair recognizes the senator from the 35th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, it's a lot of talk about, I think the state of Virginia Pennsylvania and other states talking about Juneteenth. Some people ask, what is Juneteenth? Where did it begin? And of course, you know that on June 19th of 1865, the major from Granger from Texas put out a statement in Texas notifying all the state that 2 years prior to that date, the Emancipation Proclamation was passed by Abraham Lincoln, and it freed the slaves. They were still, many states were still continuing to have slaves. So I want you to know that other states did not have to come forward, because the state of Georgia, I thank you for recognizing back in 2009, and again officially in 2011, that we recognize Juneteenth. And we have had Juneteenth celebrations every year since that. In fact, Senate Resolution 164 was one that I passed many years ago. And it's even, if you Google it, you'll even see the one that Senator the senator from the 2nd and the senator from the 34th and myself passed. So I thank you, state of Georgia, for recognizing Juneteenth as a celebration. I want everyone to know that we are a progressive state, and when the Emancipation Proclamation was issued by President Abraham Lincoln on January 1st of 1863, and General Lee surrendered in April 1865 officially, it ended the United States Civil War, and Georgia was one of the first states to recognize that Emancipation Proclamation and honor it, and it did end slavery. So I thank you to the legislature and the House and Senate for making sure that Georgia was also the first to officially recognize this celebration. Mr. President, I yield the will. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 34th who has found her notes.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I do apologize that I brought the wrong one in. But good morning, legislators. I rise this morning to talk about health care in my home state of Georgia. I'll start with my great-grandmother, who in Monroe, Georgia, was raped. My grandfather, her son, served this country in the military, but upon his return, he was passing, for you see, he looked white. And back then, they called that passing. But he said after fighting for his country, he wanted to be respected as a black man in Atlanta, Georgia, because he moved his family from Monroe, Georgia, to Atlanta. As a matter of fact, in the historic Pittsburgh community in Atlanta, Georgia, where the stadium, the Braves Stadium, sits, it's no longer that, but his 7th child was my mother, who married my father, and he moved his family to Herndon Homes housing projects, where I spent my first 9 years of life. Growing up in Herndon Homes, I was asthmatic. I know now that those affordable housings were built on a dump. When my mother moved, when I was 10 years old, they all said I grew out of asthma. But we have since learned that the move from the projects that was built on a dump, causing many children to have asthma, was the real reason I grew out of it, because we moved. My grandmother died at the young age of 59 from what they called then sugar, but we know it as diabetes. She actually went into a diabetic coma where she passed. I had a heart attack at the age of 50 while serving in this body. I was proud to participate in the rollout of Obamacare. You see, they were flying us up from the different states to let the states know that we would now have affordable health care for everybody. And to this day, I feel with COVID hitting, we would be in a better financial position had we taken Obamacare. Today, our black seniors are dying from COVID-19 more than any other group. Our black boys are being stopped, arrested, and killed more than any other group. And we black women are dying from childbirth at a higher rate than white women, 3 to 4 times, dying from childbirth. But I wanted to come this morning and just share, because February 3rd of this year, prior to COVID-19, I had a little health scare right here in this chamber, and I am proud to say I'm still here. But so many was wondering why I was in my yellow suit and why I choose to wear my mask. I decided, with all my health challenges, from asthma to diabetes, well, you name the list, I probably got some of it because of my family. But I still think the great state of Georgia should value health care for all of its citizens so that we can have a healthier Georgia, and therefore all of the budget issues we can deal with holistically to include all of Georgians. I am proud that my now 13-year-old granddaughter, the only girl, was wanting to know about her family and was excited to say we got 7 generations of Georgians starting in Monroe, Georgia, that was born right here. I do have the health challenges. I know we'll get through it, but I still believe health over wealth and health over everything else. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the will.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 53rd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I had a friend today who lost his mother. She had been ill for several months, and I just want to talk about Bobby Teams and Billy Teams and their sisters in Lafayette, Georgia, or Northwest Georgia. They're originally from Chattooga County and Trine, and they're good friends of mine. And they lost Mrs. Teams on a long-term illness, and she passed away this morning. So I just want to wish my good friends back home the very best while they're dealing with their mother's death, and I know that she's in a better place, and I just want to tell Bobby and Billy that I'm thinking of them and praying for them for their getting through the regretful feelings of losing their mother, but again, she's in a better place. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. For what purpose does the senator from the 35th rise?
If this is the appropriate time, Mr. President, pursuant to Senate Rule 3-1-7, I ask for unanimous consent that SR 953 be withdrawn.
It is the appropriate time. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption to Senate Resolution 953? 983. Couldn't read that.
Senate Resolution 983 by Senator James of the 35th, honoring and recognizing the Nagorno-Karabakh Republic and for other purposes.
Senator from the 35th has asked for unanimous consent to withdraw Senate Resolution 983. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and it is so. You have a consent calendar of privileged resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to adoption of the resolutions on the consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent that the House bills that are set forth on the consent calendar for withdrawal and commit be withdrawn from the Committee on Assignments and assigned to the committee as indicated on the consent calendar.
The Majority Leader has asked for unanimous consent that the House bills that are set forth on the consent calendar for bills to withdraw and commit be withdrawn from the Committee on Assignments and assigned to the committees as indicated on the consent calendar. Is there objection to the assignment of the bills as set forth on the consent calendar? The chair hears none. The bills on the consent calendar withdrawn and commit are therefore assigned to the committees indicated. For what purpose does the Majority Leader rise?
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the following bill be engrossed. House Bill 808.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 808 by Representatives Momtahan and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5C of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to alternative ad valorem taxes on motor vehicles so as to revise a definition, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. I can please the order, Mr. President.
For what purpose does the senator from or the Minority Leader rise?
Parliamentary inquiry. Mr.
State your
President.
inquiry.
Is it not true that often the engrossment bills are objected to by the minority party, but if that was done, it would cause the senators to have to come into the chambers, and the Minority Leader feels that's unnecessary at this time, so no motion to object will be made.
The chair recognizes that distinction. Thank you. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The question is on the engrossment of House Bill 8. It's by unanimous consent. I was going to make you do some more work. On the motion, House Bill 808 is engrossed. We're going to move on to the rules calendar. Making good time here. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 341?
House Bill 341 by Representatives Dollar of the 45th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 16-8-60 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to reproduction of recorded material, transfer, sale, distribution, circulation, civil forfeiture, and restitution so as to update terminology, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Science and Technology recommends that this bill do pass. Senator Unterman in the 45th District Chair. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The chair recognizes the senator from the 45th to speak to House Bill 341.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. I bring before you House Bill 341. It's a bill that's been around for a while, and unfortunately it didn't get brought up. The bill adds various types of modern devices subject to protection from unlawful transfers. These are often devices that are new technologies such as memory cards, flash drives, hard drives, and data storage devices, to the list of devices which are prohibited from being transferred without the owner's consent. It's a pretty straightforward bill. I ask for your favorable consideration. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Does any senator have a question? The chair sees none.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for your favorable consideration of House Bill 341.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 341? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. As a reminder, the 60-second rule has been waived. Are there any senators in the hallways or the ante rooms? Please make your way to the chamber floor and vote your machine. One minute warning. One minute warning. Have all senators voted? Have all senators voted? Nobody twist your ankles. We got one more. Two more. Four more. I feel like the maitre d'. All members have voted their machines. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption to House Bill 808.
House Bill 808 by Representative Momtahan of the 17th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 5C of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to alternative ad valorem taxes on motor vehicles, so as to revise the definition, to provide for related matters, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Finance recommends this bill do pass. Senator Huffstetler of the 52nd District, Chair. That completes the order.
I would ask that we cease all audible conversations on the floor as we present the bill. The chair recognizes the senator from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, House Bill 808 is a pretty simple bill. We're changing one thing, 30 to 45. The reason for that is our automobile dealers across the state, under Georgia law, when they give service loaners out to customers who have their vehicles in for service, they are exempt from having to charge the TAVT tax on those service loaner vehicles that the dealers have, as long as the loaner vehicle is out no more than 30 days, and that one loaner vehicle cannot be used for more than 366 days in a year. And that 30-day period applies to a single customer. The issue we are having right now, before COVID-19, I want to make sure that that is clear, is that our dealerships have had a hard time getting parts to fix some vehicles, so customers have had to have loaner vehicles for more than 30 days, and this is just addressing that issue. I'd be happy to yield for any questions, Mr. President. If there are none, I would yield the will.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 22nd for a question. He waives. Chair recognizes our good friend from the 53rd District.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Yield.
I yield to my good friend.
Thank you so much. And I understand that today we found out you was a vegetarian, but I'll go back with that later. Could you tell me the real reason of this? Have you had some personal issues with not returning your vehicle in time?
So, Mr. Chairman, I am not a vegetarian. I love my beef and pork and products, but with that said, I personally have not experienced any issues with this, but I know there are individuals across our state that have, and we're just trying to address that concern.
Well, thank you for that, because I know how crafty you are, and let me commend you on that, and I appreciate this bill for us to pass through.
I just want to be able to keep me a Honda for more than 30 days, Mr. Chairman.
The senator with the best haircut in the room has no more questions.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Mr. President, and I appreciate your acknowledgement of this clean cut.
You have no more questions. Any other senator wish to speak to House Bill 808? Any other senators wish to speak to House Bill 808? The chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. All members have voted their machines. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54, The nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. For what purpose does the senator from the 22nd rise?
Yes, Mr. President, like unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 2nd for business outside of the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 2nd is excused. Mr. Secretary, you ready? Can you read the caption, the House Bill 820? House Bill 820.
House Bill 820 by Representative Tanner of the 9th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 3 of Chapter 2 of Title 32 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated, relating to officers in the Department of Transportation so as to provide for state investment in railways and railroad facilities and equipment, to provide for a definition, to provide for that the Commissioner of Transportation may administer a Georgia Freight Railroad program, to provide for sub-programs within such program, to provide for annual reporting, to provide for standards for expenditure of funds, to provide for related matters, repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Transportation recommends this bill do pass. Senator Beach of the 21st District Chair. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the Majority Whip to speak to House Bill 820.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is a pretty simple bill, straightforward. You've already seen the sister bill to it earlier in the session before the COVID break that we took. This bill comes from the recommendations of the Freight Logistics Commission that started last year under the leadership of our Transportation Chairman in the Senate. In the House, it will instruct the DOT to set up the rail program, the freight and logistics program going forward. There are no state funds attached to this plan. This is simply a framework that's being set up going forward. There will be requests for appropriations as monies are available. Mr. President, I'm happy to yield for any questions.
Does any senator have a question?
Thank
you. You have no questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 820? Chair sees none. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none and the main question is ordered. Question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea, opposed nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. All right, the doorkeepers tell me there's no one in the hall. Have all senators voted? We got one coming. Would you like a window view? One coming. All right, we're good to go. All senators voted? Mr. Secretary, please. Oh, there's the one that hasn't voted yet. There he comes. Mr. Secretary, please lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption of House Bill 888?
House Bill 888 by Representative Hawkins of the 27th and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 33 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to insurance so as to provide for certain consumer protections against surprise billing, to provide for a short title, to provide for applicability, to provide for definitions, to provide mechanisms to resolve payment disputes between insurers and out-of-network providers regarding the provision of health care services, to require the department to provide for the maintenance of all-payer health claims database, to provide for in-network cost-sharing amounts in health care plan contracts, to establish an arbitration process, to require the Commissioner of Insurance to contract with one or more resolution organizations, to require the promulgation of department rules, repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services recommends this bill do pass. Senator Watson, the 1st District Chair. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 52nd to speak to House Bill 888.
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly believe and hope that this is the last time I present surprise billing to the Senate. I'm hoping to keep the language identical to what it is from the House version. This House version is the same as mine. They've been identical all along. There were a couple of word changes to add facility in where some people thought it wasn't in there that should be. Other than that, it is the bill that this Senate has already passed out. And I do want to say that I appreciate the Senate's support, passing out in a bipartisan, unanimous manner for 3 years going now that we will get the consumer out of the middle. And I really appreciate the support. And I also appreciate the Chair of Health and Human Services, who said it's one of the top 5 bills that we should deal with this year, and his support. The Lieutenant Governor's office, Regina Quick, put hours and hours in on that, and our governor, in his State of the State speech, said we're going to get surprise billing done this year, and we are going to get it done this year. And Ryan Loke from his office had many, many hours in this. It's been a great effort. I'll try to be brief, but Richard Smith and I had different versions. Georgia Watch got us together with 3 Georgetown professors in the fall. We both tried to prove our way was right. They went with a different way that he and I could agree on. In the meantime, he became chairman of Rules. Lee Hawkins took over, though they've both been involved in the process, and everyone has worked together and put aside our differences and got a bill that will help the consumer out. This bill is here because, you know, about half of Americans have experienced a surprise bill. I know I see it in my profession where the things that happen, and it's the #1 cause of bankruptcy in Georgia. And this will let the healthcare providers and insurers take the consumer, the patient, out of the middle and take care of it. And in an emergency, the patient will only do their normal co-pays and deductibles. And in a non-emergency, if it's going to be a higher cost, being out of network, they're informed in writing, and then it's their choice if they do want to go ahead. In that case, it's not a surprise bill. We want the consumer to be informed. It sets up a prompt payment, and then if at this point the patient's out of the middle, and if the insurer and the provider aren't in agreement, it sets up a baseball-style arbitration to resolve it, in that both sides present a number. Both sides want their number to be picked, so they're not going to put a number out in left field or right field, I guess, or center field. And the thing we've seen is that so much of the arbitration goes away because their numbers are really close. They both have a good idea where the numbers should be. It cannot apply to ERISA plans under current federal law, so the federal government has kept us from applying it to those. But we're covering what we can, and we hope, to bring those in soon. As I said, it affects everybody, and in my profession, I got hit up. You're hurting our contract rates. You're going to hurt us in negotiation. And the president of the anesthesia group, I was over there this weekend. I put out a little letter from him. It's got a little coffee stain on it, but back from January, where he was telling me all his fears. But then he said, on the other hand, something has to be done to protect our patients. This past year has been very difficult for my wife and me. She was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. Despite being privately insured and both being physicians, we found ourselves on the other side of this fence and have been balance billed twice. Fortunately, we were able to find a resolution for both bills. However, without our medical background, we would have been victims without a voice. He says, let me help you do this, after he gave me all his concerns about his professional payments. And that's what we've had, is we've had millions of Georgians that have been victims without a voice. And in a bipartisan manner, this Senate today is going to send this bill to the governor and say, when this bill becomes implemented, we're going to take millions of Georgians and they will no longer be victims without a voice. I appreciate your support over these years, and as I said, I hope I'm never presenting this bill again. If there's any questions, otherwise I yield the well.
Senator, you have no questions. Chair recognizes the senator from the 48th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to commend the Senate on all the hard work on the surprise billing. When I came to the Capitol as a new senator, one of the very first bills I brought with me was the surprise billing issue. As I had canvassed thousands of doors in my district, Senate District 48, I can't tell you how many folks literally cried when they talked about health care and their experience with surprise billing. And during those many, many conversations, I became committed to ending surprise billing. And then when I arrived here, learned about all the work that the senator from the 52nd had done for many years, as well as many members of this chamber. This is but one piece of the health care issue that must be dealt with, but it's an important piece, and though it's not a perfect bill, as the senator said, it gives victims without a voice finally a voice and an ability to not have surprise billing wreck them totally and completely to the point that they have to declare bankruptcy and they lose everything. And these are people all across our great state. And so I encourage everyone to vote yes on this bill and to continue your commitment to affordable, accessible health care for everyone. Thank you. I yield the well.
Senator has yielded the well. The chair recognizes the senator from the 55th to speak to the measure. She waves with a huge smile on her face. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 8? Chair recognizes the senator from the 55th. I have no comeback for that.
You never get up in front of people with naked lips. I'm sorry. So, Mr. President, thank you. I can't get this thing off my ear. But anyway, I just wanted to thank the senator for presenting that bill I don't know how many times and talking about it in our committee. There's nothing more surprising than getting a surprise bill. I got one, and I surprised them and sent it back to them because I didn't think I owed it. But no one wants to get a surprise bill. You want to know what you owe when you going through the process. I've been through this process before. I had surgery on my my wrist, and they took me in their finance area, and we talked it through. They told me what I would have to pay. They told me the person that was outside of network that I would have to pay, and I was fine with that. That was great. And that's the way it should work. We shouldn't be surprised by humongous amounts that we have to pay later on, come out of our pockets with money that we hadn't planned to pay. And so I just want to thank the Senator again and all of us for a bipartisan bill and working together to get a bill that makes sense. And we hope that the people of this state can be happy with. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 888? The chair sees none. Is there objection or agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? The chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill. All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. All senators have voted. Mr. Secretary, please lock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 53, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. Mr. Secretary, please read the caption of House Bill 969.
House Bill 969 by Representative Estration of the 104th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 4 of Chapter 3 of Title 8 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to fair housing so as to change certain provisions pertaining to unlawful practices in selling or renting dwellings and the procedures, remedies, and judicial review related thereto, to correct certain cross-references, to clarify that complaints of discriminatory housing practices may be filed with the federal government as well as the administrator of the Commission on Equal Opportunity, to specify how such dual complaints shall be handled, to provide for administrative proceedings to be conducted by administrative law judges, to provide for conforming amendments, to provide for related matters, repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary recommends this bill do pass. Senator Stone, the 23rd District Chair. That completes the order.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 22nd to speak to House Bill 969.
Thank you, Mr. President. I present to you HB 969, which is a department bill that has broad support. It has support from the Metro Fair Housing, the Enterprise Community Partners, Georgia Advancing Communities Together, and Georgia Apartment Association. And why is that broad support there? It's because this bill was actually requested by the Georgia Commission on Equal Opportunity. In 2012, the Georgia Commission on Equal Opportunity lost its Fair Housing Assistance Program certification with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. HB 969 includes various changes that needed to be made to the bill or needed to be made so it can come into compliance. That compliance will allow the state of Georgia to avail itself of various federal funds. I would say that this is not a new law. These are just procedural changes that needed to take place to bring us in compliance and also bring us in the ambit of receiving various federal funds. I can give you just a couple of examples of what has taken place. For instance, in the original language, we have in there, or had in there, that attorney's fees and costs were consistent with our original bill. One of the questions was, did that mean respondents can get attorney's fees? You have a petitioner who's actually bringing the action for discrimination against a respondent. What we basically did in this particular bill was say that a respondent would only be able to get a attorney's fees if they won, and that was an important distinction. Another area that was concerning to the federal government was that you had to elect, a petitioner had to elect actually to go in front of an administrative law judge. Well, many of your petitioners actually are not represented by counsel, so that was concerning by the federal government that they had to make that election first. And so it was determined that they would have the right to actually go into an administrative law judge. Also, one of the issues was that in many of these cases, discovery was not provided. And as those can know, discovery is important to actually expedite the case. So one of the things we were actually able to do was put a discovery provision in this particular bill. That allows the case to move forward more expeditiously. That is good for the department and also for the petitioners. And lastly, the administrator would also be able to review the administrative law judge for any errors. And that was also important to bring us into the ambit of the particular legislation. So, Mr. President, those are the reasons why we bring this bill. It's procedural. It's not a new law, but it will avail us to various federal funds, and it will bring us in the guidelines of the federal government. And with that, Mr. President, I'll take any questions.
Does any senator have a question? The chair sees none.
All right, thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against House Bill 969? Chair sees none. Is there objection or agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? Chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. Questions on the passage of the bill? All those in favor of the bill will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. All senators have voted their machines. Mr. Secretary, please close the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 52, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed. For what purpose does the majority whip rise?
Mr. President, pursuant to Senate Rule 7-1.10, paragraph B, I give notice that at the appropriate time I intend to move that the Senate agree to the House amendment to the Senate substitute to House Bill 105.
So noted. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
House Bill 105 by Representative Watson of the 172nd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the imposition, rate, computation, and exemptions from state income tax so as to exempt from state income tax certain income received by taxpayers as payments from a disaster relief or assistance program administered by the United States Department of Agriculture in connection with Hurricane Michael. That completes the order.
Notice is served. Chair recognizes the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on Thursday, 18 June 2020.
Mr. Secretary, please read the announcements.
The Rules Committee will meet in room 450 of the Capitol upon adjournment. Public Safety will meet in Mez 1 at 1 o'clock. Education and Youth will meet in 307 CLOB at 2:15. State Institutions and Property will meet in 450 of the Capitol at 2:15. Health and Human Services will meet in room 450 of the Capitol at 3:30. The Judiciary Committee will meet in room 307 of the CLOB at 4:45. And the Retirement Committee will meet in Mez 1 at 4:45. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Does any senators have an announcement? Well, Secretary's got an announcement he'd like to make.
There are sandwiches for the senators in the pro tem's anteroom or office.
Any senators have an announcement? Chair sees none. The Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until Thursday, June 18th, 2020 at 10 a.m. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. This chamber stands adjourned. Thanks, guys.